Hi, this is a quick tip for getting the rotation off of a camera in MotionBuilder. Something you might do, in my case, when I'm trying to get the data, the rotations sampled and into custom format for a game. So in this scene, really simple one, there's a camera, it just moves, it turns and goes over there from 0 to 60. And I've got a null that I'm going to use to sample my data from. So you'd think that you'd be able to just take that null and constrain it to the camera. So we'll set up a constraint here and turn it on. And at first blush, it looks like it's working. Now the problem is that you take the camera, and in MotionBuilder there's a roll property. If you change that, it turns, and the rotation that I would want to collect is part of that roll. Yet it's not actually affecting the rotation on the camera, and the constraint shown here isn't turning either. So the parent constraint doesn't capture it. You can see the rotations on the camera don't change when the roll does. So we want to get that into the rotation, and the way we would do that is one way anyway, an easy way, is using a relation constraint. So we'll come back here and delete this constraint, parent-child, and we'll come and create a new one, a relation constraint. So we'll go ahead and drag that down and constrain the null. And then we'll drop the camera in as a sender. And for the most part, this will be a pretty simple constraint, and we're just going to go straight from translation to translation. We're going to work with the rotation, but we're going to add something to it. So let's do this. Let's create vector add, and we'll pull that into there and that over there. And even right now, the constraint works like a parent constraint, but we need to add to that rotation to capture that roll that we were talking about a second ago. So you'll notice the roll is not showing up on the camera here. The reason is that right now the roll does not have any keyframes, and it's not actually set to animatable, and that's what we need to be able to pick it up here. It needs to be animatable, it needs to have an animation node. So we'll click animatable, and voila, it shows up. So what we need to do now is create another vector to go into this add, and we'll do that by going to our converters. So we're going to convert from a single number, this float, to a vector, and that's going to get added onto the other rotation. So now the question is, which one of these XYZs do we plug the roll into? Well, let's take a look at the null. I'm going to switch to the local coordinates here, and we can see that the x-axis runs right down this line here, red being x. So we want to rotate on that x. That's where the roll is. So we'll take and just pipe the roll into the x, and you can see it's shifted a little bit there, but let's take a look at this now. So now if I turn the camera, the null turns. And that's true all the way through. So if I say set a keyframe over here, and then maybe one over here, going the opposite way, you can see that the null stays completely aligned to that camera. So if I select the null, it's even more obvious because you'll see the icon, the gizmo change. And then if you inspect the rotations on the null itself, you can see that they're all being captured inside of there. So when we go to export and plot it down, whatever, all of the rotations will be baked onto the null, including the roll of the camera. That's it. Thanks for watching. Hope it helps.